In 2020, Portland became the epicenter of protests and riots for police accountability. Though it remains the only major city in the country that didn't capture any of it on body cameras because our officers don't wear them.
It is an anomaly. It is peculiar.
And it's ironic because it might be one of the only issues where activists and officers actually agree.
Does the union support body cams?
Absolutely.
So what's holding it up?
It's a combination of reasons.
Here's the story. Thanks for being with us. I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to The Story. This is the show that wants to hear from you. Send us your thoughts, your concerns, your ideas for coverage. All the contact information is at the bottom of your screen. Don't forget to use that hashtag, HeyDan. Now, when something bad happens and it involves a police officer, I think people expect to see that on video nowadays. Mainly because of body cameras, those tiny little cameras that police officers wear. They've become part of the uniform, even in small departments around the country. But not here in Portland. That's right, the state's largest law enforcement agency doesn't have body cameras. So our investigative reporter, Kyla Boshi, wanted to know why.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
For months in Portland, residents outraged by the killing of George Floyd rallied for racial justice. They wanted the police to be held accountable and demanded change. Which got me wondering, with so much focus on police reform, why is it that Portland police doesn't have body cams? Seems like everybody else does. I checked every big city police department and found of the top 75, Portland is the only agency that doesn't have body-worn cameras. Now, that's not to say body cams would solve the complex problem of police violence or racial injustice. But wouldn't it help?
It's complicated to answer that, but I do think that it could. I think it could help. I think it could add a layer of, further oversight and accountability.
Candace Avalos is a co-founder of the Black Millennial Movement, along with Cameron Whitten.
You see me okay?
Yes.
So we're looking into body cams and the fact, Portland police doesn't have body cams.
Mm-hmm.
Does it surprise you they don't have body cams at this point?
It is an anomaly. It is peculiar, and we do keep things weird in Portland. I think Portland really needs to grapple with what is practical. What can we do to ensure that we are documenting instances of police misconduct, and what is the practical way to ensure every Portlander gets that type of needed justice.
Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Kyle.
Would you like to have body cams?
We would.
Chris Davis is the deputy chief of the Portland Police Bureau, who spent a lot of time looking into body cams. Years, actually.
What do you see as the benefit of having body cams?
I think it's a few things. Number one, there's a very big benefit in terms of transparency. And having a body-worn camera will, in any incident, can provide us with answers to a lot of questions.
Why don't Portland police officers have body cams?
It's a combination of reasons, but really the biggest one is it boils down to the cost.
No surprise, it's money, but also politics, going back nearly a decade. See, in the fall of 2014, a federal judge urged the city of Portland to put cameras on its officers. The mayor at the time, Charlie Hales, agreed. He wanted police to wear cameras within a year.
Should we cross the threshold and get this equipment? I believe so. The
Police Bureau set aside money and held community hearings. By 2015, it seemed like things were moving along. The City Council awarded $834,000 that would be used for body cams, and put aside another $1.6 million to fund the project through the next fiscal year. Then, a different mayor came along, and things hit a snag. In 2017, Mayor Ted Wheeler questioned if the project was feasible.
I would like to see a very detailed, longer-term plan.
Then Police Chief Mike Marshman admitted logistics and costs were still being ironed out. The project was put on hold.
I think, in a nutshell, why we don't have body cameras today, because we're trying to judiciously explore these hurdles we have to overcome.
In 2019, police developed a detailed plan. and a pilot program was slated to start in 2020. But that got derailed by the pandemic, which blew a hole in the city budget. The body camera pilot project ended up on the chopping block, which is where we are now.
So is funding really the barrier?
At this point, it really is.
Well, thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Nationwide, the evidence surrounding body-worn cameras has been mixed. It's not clear if they really alter police behavior or improve trust between police and the community.
You are under arrest.
But we have seen how these small cameras can provide an independent record of questionable or deadly encounters.
In our day and age where people are asking for transparency and accountability, body-worn cameras is one step closer to providing the community what they're asking for.
Brian Hunsaker is the president of the police union in Portland. Does the union support body cams?
Absolutely. The Portland Police Association has always been in favor of accountability and transparency.
So it's not like the police union is standing in the way.
Absolutely not.
The union sees body cameras as an investment that's long overdue.
There are agencies that neighbor us, neighbor Portland, that have body-worn cameras, and they've had them for years.
So how do other agencies make it work? To find out, I went to Sherwood, where body cameras have been tested and used in some form or another for more than a decade.
Jeff Groth, Police Chief, Sherwood Police Department.
How many body cams do you folks have?
We have them on every member of our uniform division, so about 20, I think we're at 25, 26.
Yeah. And how have they worked?
They've worked great. We really like them.
In 2018, Sherwood Police joined Hillsborough and North Plains to get a federal grant that would help pay for body-worn cameras and the cost of storing the video. That's the expensive part.
Programs like this aren't cheap, so what advice, if any, would you have for other agencies that are struggling to figure out how to pay for them?
It really needs to be looked at from my perspective as a worthwhile investment. It's just absolutely worth spending the money on. So get as creative as you can and try to find the money.
Many police departments have used federal grants to jumpstart body cam programs. Since 2009, the Department of Justice has awarded 805 grants to law enforcement agencies across the country, totaling more than $142 million. In Oregon, that money's gone to 13 law enforcement agencies, big and small.
So has Portland ever applied for one of these federal grants? No, I asked. The Department of Justice said Portland's never applied.
Body cameras and the video they capture have become critical elements of police investigations and accountability around the country. But unlike other big city agencies, Portland Police doesn't have them and won't unless city leaders provide the funding and have the initiative to bring about real change.
Okay, Kyle Laboshi joining us now. Kyle, let's talk about the money aspect of all this as being kind of the primary hurdle. I had some questions, one being how much would this actually cost? What are the estimates there? And how are they able to even guess at a number like that when they haven't applied for a federal grant before?
Right. And Portland Police can only estimate, and they estimate at about $2.9 million to get the program up and running, and then maybe about $1.8 million every year after that. That's in line with Seattle Police. We check with them and what their budget is. Keep in mind the real expense here, though. It's not the equipment. It's not those little cameras. It's the data storage. It's all that video that you've got to save. Think about it in a criminal case, right? You've got prosecutors who want to see that video. You've got defense attorneys, maybe even members of the public or the media that want to look at that video. So you've got to store it, obviously offer it up and process it, allow them to see it, and potentially redact some of that images from that video as well. It's expensive.
Yeah, with the discussion around defunding the Portland Police Bureau, not giving them more money, what does that mean for the future of body cameras on Portland police officers?
Well, we don't know, right? The big challenge, as you mentioned, is money and the squeeze at City Hall and trying to find some money in that budget, which is really challenging right now. So the likelihood of them coming up with the funds right away, not really good. Down the road, different story, and we'll see as well the appetite among city commissioners to approve this or not.
Got it. All right, Kyle Laboshi, thank you. It's looking like we might get some snow here in the metro area, which has a lot of people wondering, what about my vaccine appointment? And 25 years ago this week, we weren't really thinking about snow because Portland was dealing with water. I'm talking lots of water.
And now it is at least knee deep for about a 2-block area.
When the story continues. Welcome back. Going through comments and emails, stuff like that during the break. Of course, we just kind of settled in on one topic there for the first part of the show with body cameras and whether or not and if police in Portland will ever wear them. We read all of your comments, even if we don't respond to each and every one. They drive the content that's on this show, so please keep them coming at the story at kgw.com. You can leave me a comment on my Facebook page. Just search Dan Haggerty, KGW. Now, I'm sure that you know that this is the first week that seniors are eligible to get the COVID vaccine here in Oregon. Yesterday was day one. It didn't go great. In fact, it was a big mess. The appointment portal opened up a few hours earlier than the state said it would, and then predictably it filled up right away. So we heard from a lot of frustrated people yesterday who weren't able to get a spot in line. But we also heard from people who did get their appointments. Richard K., for instance, had a success story. He says, I'm 82 years old. I live on the coast, got on the Lincoln County wait list a few weeks ago, and then they had a couple hundred doses. And when online registration opened on Monday, I had no trouble getting a time slot for Friday. So we're happy for him. Teresa K. tweeted, new from the state camping reservation start time fake out that the noon time for sign up was not to be trusted. Kept checking several times Monday morning, got kicked out a few times, time slots disappeared, but then got lucky, was able to get my 81-year-old mom in at PDX for Sunday. That's not great when the reputation for that sort of stuff is so bad that people automatically assume something is going to go wrong. But we are happy that she was able to get that time slot for her mother. But we have heard from a lot of people who weren't so lucky, like Donna. She emailed us and said, still can't get my 101-year-old mom a COVID vaccine appointment. Shame on Oregon, shame on Yamhill County. I can't expose her to large crowds, so mass venues are out. I don't know what to do. Desperate. Now, we hear from a lot of people like Donna. Tim Gordon has been following up on the vaccine rollout for us in Oregon and Washington. And I chatted with Tim a little earlier about how frustrating this has been for some people. Let's first just talk about some of the hurdles that people have been running into. What have you been hearing?
Yeah, tough day yesterday for sure, Dan, for these folks that are 80 plus years old. You know, I think it's a matter of the timing of the opening, the technology that's being used, and the massive amount of people trying to sign up. It was a recipe for a lot of people to be disappointed and not get an appointment yesterday.
So if you're somebody who is still waiting to get an appointment, what is your strategy at this point?
You know, first of all, wait for some more to open up because they're all full for this week. But after next Tuesday, there should be more appointments. Hopefully we'll know when those will open up. And, you know, to get on there, maybe get some help. If you get kicked off, get back on, try again. Those are things to certainly try. But it's a tough system for sure to be successful with.
So right now, we don't know exactly when the next round of available appointments will become available, do we? Is that what you're telling me?
That is true. The Oregon Health Authority spokesperson today said he believes it may be Thursday or Friday, but the providers that are actually giving the vaccinations said, didn't put a date on it yet, said when we know how much vaccine we'll have to offer next week, then we'll open it up. Hopefully it'll be by the end of the week and we can get this thing going and hopefully have a little bit smoother time the second time around.
A lot of people have been wondering about the technical kind of, I don't know if they're glitches or missteps. For instance, the portal opening prior to when it was supposed to open, and people who were waiting for that window ended up missing appointments or their ability to book those appointments.
To book them.
Yeah. Did we hear anything about why that happened or how that happened?
Right. Well, the background was that we were told late last week it would be noon, that it would open up. It opened up about 3 hours earlier than that, with no communication to us after our repeated attempts to confirm the information about noon. So it caught us off guard. It caught a lot of people off guard that were expecting it to be noon. So people snuck it in front of them, basically having tried earlier. So OHA says, you know what? That's the provider's website portal. It's really not us. But that wasn't the question we were asking. They're the ones who told us it was going to be noon, and they never communicated anything different. So we never got an answer about why that happened. But hopefully we'll get clear communications about when this opens up again and gives people another chance.
All right. Tim Gordon, thank you so much. We appreciate you keeping us up to date on all this stuff. All right, man.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Now, as if this whole process wasn't complicated enough already, we got this massive winter storm possibility about to throw a big snow shovel in an already complicated process. And we all know how well Oregon does when it snows. So one of our viewers, Judy, brought up a pretty good question. She said, hey, Dan, with the potential of heavy snowfall ahead, would you find out if the convention center will be open no matter what for vaccine appointments. So unfortunately, Judy, right now as it stands, there isn't really any concrete plan on what to do. The OHA told us that it's going to be up to the vaccine providers to make that call. So OHSU, Legacy, Providence, Kaiser, and they don't know either. This afternoon, reps from all four of those health systems, they put out one statement saying that they are, quote, monitoring the weather forecast and in the process of developing plans in case the snow shuts things down. So as of today, they aren't changing any appointments, not changing any schedules. So if you have an appointment, if you're ready to get in line at a certain time, be there. We will update you if they actually develop any of those plans based on the contingencies for snow and whatnot. So stay with us. Meanwhile, let's check in on how we're doing with vaccines overall. So more than 434,000 Oregonians have gotten at least their first dose of the vaccine. So that works out to be more than 10% of the state's population, which isn't bad. About a third of those people have also gotten their second dose. So some people are getting all the way through the process. In Washington, more than 741,000 people have gotten at least one shot, and that's a little less than 10% of the state's population. So they're pretty much on track with Oregon, and we're doing pretty well overall because both are in the top third of all states in terms of percentage of people vaccinated. Now, a lot of times on this show, we recommend stories from other places, but we think are worth your time, that we think you should check out. But tonight, we're recommending one of our own. Christine Pitawanich looked into what Washington County is doing to hire more diverse teachers, a more diverse group of educators, because right now, they simply don't have enough. They're calling it a, quote, critical shortage. The goal is to get more people interested in becoming teachers through mentoring and helping them get their foot in the door. She talked to parents who say that more diversity among teachers will benefit all students, especially students of color.
And we're both co-founders of the BEAVERTON Black Parent Union. We know, and research suggests from the Learning Policy Institute, that students of color actually have higher academic outcomes when they have teachers of color.
Now you can check out the full story right now on KGW.com. Also, Kristen Severance has been keeping tabs on a similar program in Portland that puts teachers of color in schools. But she talked to some alumni who say that it's really being neglected. You got to check this story out. We're going to have more on it tomorrow night right here on The Story. All right, keep sending your comments. Use that hashtag #HeyDan. I'm going to read a few when we get back after the break. Plus, we're going to finish the story with a little trip into the KGW vault when we come back. Welcome back. Checking out some comments. We're going to get to a few of those in just a second. Meanwhile, I know a lot of you are relatively new to town, like myself, but I hear from a lot of people who lived here their entire lives and know a lot about the history of this place. So for those of you who have lived here for a while, I know you remember what happened 25 years ago this week in February of 1996. I know it's hard to remember what happened last week, but I'll give you a hint. This one had to do with flooding. Lots and lots of flooding. Let's go into the KGW vault with the help of Brenda Braxton.
Oregon underwater. The perfect storm made waves through the Willamette Valley and southwest Washington. A winter of snow and ice, followed by warm rain, led to the most destructive flooding to hit the state since 1964.
These should normally be streets, not rivers, not canals, but streets.
Bodies of water all over the state overflowed. The Willamette rose to more than 28 feet, ending up 10 feet above flood levels, threatening to wash over Tom McCall Waterfront Park. The flooding was so bad in the Rose City, then Mayor Vera Katz asked city workers and volunteers to build a wall along the waterfront to keep the Willamette from overflowing into downtown. The river swallowed landmarks.
We are, I believe that is Oaks Park down below us now.
In the middle of State Street, you can see what happened. Lake Oswego simply flowed over the walls and right into downtown, and now it is at least knee-deep for about a 2-block area.
And the Columbia River rose along Vancouver's shores.
Again, this is the Columbia River. It is up this high, and it is expected to come up a little higher.
8 people died. Homes were destroyed, livestock was lost, and hundreds of mudslides covered the freeways. From Salem to Tillamook County, Oregon City, and Tualatin. There was no escaping the high water, leaving homeowners with few options.
This is the master bedroom here, this first window.
Except sandbags. Lots and lots of sandbags.
You can see over here, the guy that owns this house has sandbagged it all the way up to about 2.5 feet.
The Great Flood of '96 caused hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage, forced the National Guard to deploy, and led to a visit from the Commander-in-Chief.
President Clinton will leave the White House at dawn and land in Portland around 9 in the morning.
You will have our help, I assure you of that, in the job of cleaning up and rebuilding.
But in those long, wet, sometimes devastating days of late January and February, as we went through the archives, we found story after story of neighbors dropping everything to lend a hand.
This is where the problem was today, so we thought we'd come up and help for a while.
Everybody's pitching in.
Oh, they're angels. They're just angels from God.
Well, I had the day off, and my wife told me to get off the couch and come help.
Are you doing a good job? Good, that'll be.
We all understand that we all need each other's help. And I'm glad that the community's decided to help each other out.
Rather, it touches your heart when you see the number of people down here that are helping out. They're either hammering, shoveling, digging ditches, or feeding the people who are working. It's very impressive. And I know the people from the city that I've talked to have been just as touched in their heart and just as impressed with the effort down here.
And I hope that all of us will find in our minds and hearts the wisdom and strength to be a little more like the people of Portland were on that one day, every day of the year.
It seems only fitting that in the most trying of times, the Northwest spirit came alive for all the nation to see.
Tina remembers this pretty well. She tweeted, "Hey Dan, I remember the '96 flood. I was a buyer for Freddy's and started my day at the Tualatin store. By the time I got home to Laco 1 hour later, the Tualatin store was an island." Talk about helpers. Jockey Underwear donated a truckload of undies to Tillamook. Gotta have your underwear. Hey, if you have some memories, and we'd love to hear them, use that hashtag #HeyDan. Tell us about your memories of the flood. We got a couple of comments. A lot of people talking about the body camera issue. It really is an interesting topic. First, from Carol Fenton. Wait, what? Hey Dan just said that Portland protesters want police to have body cameras, and then she made that face, that emoji that's like this, which I'm not sure what that means exactly, but surprise, I guess. Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, I can't speak for every single protester and what they wanted, but I heard a lot of people down there calling for transparency and accountability, and one of those things would be cameras on officers to record interactions with people they are going to arrest or having an encounter with. Then she said, "Oh my God, this body cam segment is awful." Carol, I liked it. I thought it was really good. Follow up, email me. Let's talk about this a little bit more. Robert Fuller said, "You would think that Portland would be the ideal candidate for body camera grants. It's not rocket scientists. Has PPB ever tried?" So no, if you, in Kyle's report, it was part of that report there. No, they have never actually applied for a grant. So who knows exactly how much money would get allocated from the federal government for a program like that here. And then Rob Marsh said, "From what I've read, body cameras also reduce complaints and protects officers because people know they are being recorded and don't make false complaints." True? Question mark. There are probably cases like that. I mean, when you're recording every interaction that you have with a police officer, and we know that happens multiple times every single night, constantly, having that evidence, a lot of people say is a good thing. But again, it's an ongoing conversation. One that was brought up by Michael said, "What about Commissioner Joanne Hardesty? She publicly stated an opposition to them earlier this year." I did ask Kyle about that, and he said that he reached out to her and she said no comment. But I'm thinking of following up with Commissioner Hardesty anyway, because where's she been? I haven't heard from her in a while, and I think I'd like to get her opinion on some of the stuff that's been going on lately. There's a lot that's been going on lately. I know, because you guys keep telling me about it. Keep using that hashtag #HeyDan. Help us steer this ship. We appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. That's the story.